Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to a very special online event today. It's called Journey Beyond the Veil with Bilocation. Access expanded states of consciousness with binaural beats and NDE insights to meet deceased loved ones and awaken your energy body. My name is Stephen Dyna. I'm the founder and president of the Shift Network, and I'm always delighted to be exploring the further frontiers of consciousness, our evolution, our survival of bodily death. And we're going to get to explore with two really grounded but very forward-looking pioneers in this arena. We're going to be here with Scott Taylor, who's the president of the Expanded Awareness Institute, and the gifted healer, Dr. Charleene Nicely, who have combined forces on multiple programs for Shift and really are looking at the further reaches of how do we turn NDEs by location into like an experiential reality for more people. So Scott and Charlene, thank you so much for joining us here again today.
It's a
Thank you,
joy to
Stephen. Woohoo! Glad to be here.
Great. Well, I know we're going to have a brand new course coming up with you all on the bilocation phenomenon. So we're going to share more about that towards the end of the hour. But before we go further, I want to start our journey here today with a little bit about both of your journeys with these kind of deeper phenomena of possibilities. So, Scott, I'd love to hear a little bit. I know you have a very powerful story that opened up this portal to shared death experiences, but maybe share a little bit about this being able to your journey into being able to travel more at will into realms that are traditionally think of as like beyond the veil.
Well, thank you, Stephen. It really is a joy to be here. My story has two parts. The first part of it is my shared death experience, and the second part of it is the time in the hospital room and what happened after. So it's 1981, and the woman I loved and her 7-year-old son were in a horrific car accident. Mary Fran, and she was killed outright. And Nolan, it took him 6 days to make his transition. When he made his transition, the hospital room was filled with grieving relatives and friends. And what we got to witness was the heart monitor. It goes down and down and down, and then eventually it flatlines. And when it flatlined, what I experienced was Mary Fran coming across the veil and scooping Nolan up out of his physical body. It was an exquisite reunion, as you can only imagine, between a mother and son. And it surprised me because I was able to participate in that reunion and feel what it was like. And then what surprised me even more was that the two of them then turned to me, came over, embraced me, and then the three of us left and went into the light. Being in the light is extraordinary. It's joy, it's ecstasy, it's love beyond boundaries. It's reunion. And I was attached, I was linked to everything in the universe, past, present, and future. And Stephen, it didn't make any difference. None of that mattered because what really mattered was me being there in the light with Mary Fran and Nolan, and that we had this chance to communicate with each other, to affirm our love and affection for each other. We had a chance to say our goodbyes because I wasn't anywhere near the scene of the accident. I was at work. So that wound up being really important. And then we had time. We were blessed with the time just to hang out and be with each other. And at some point, it felt complete. And the two of them turned, and Mary Fran led Nolan further into the light. And I came back to my physical body there in the room with all the other grieving relatives. That's part one of the story. Part two is that I'm in the light with Mary Fran and Nolan, and 100% of my consciousness is there in the room with them. And at the same time, 100% of my consciousness is in the room with the grieving relatives. It wasn't 50-50 split. It was 100 and 100. And I didn't have a name for that then. I do now. It's called bilocation. And what it meant was that I had this ability to be in the light with Mary Fran and Nolan, and I had the ability to be in the hospital room. Well, what came after was this intense curiosity because I knew that if I had been in the light with Mary Fran and Nolan, that I could do it again. I just had to figure out how. Well, how came when I took a course at the Monroe Institute. The first course I took, I was able to connect with Mary Fran. The second course I took, I was able to establish a relationship between Mary Fran and Nolan and me. And frankly, there were a bunch of other people that popped in to say hi. So I, in doing this work, what I discovered was that binaural beats are incredibly effective in helping enter into and hold an expanded state of awareness. It the institute uses a cosmology. It's not like what we do. What Charlene and I do is use the cosmology that has been laid down for us by near death experiencers, shared death experiencers. Millions of people have created this energetic pathway that's easy to enter into, explore, it's safe, and it's easy to come back and out of. And the importance of having mentors and guides, mentors being, those of us here in the physical world, but our guides that are non-physical that help us with the transition and then also help us navigate in the non-physical universe.
Hmm.
I know that we exist after our physical body dies. We are capable of entering into the light and seeking its wisdom anytime, anywhere we want. And having done this work for 35 years, I've learned how people learn how to move around in that space. I know the tools and techniques that it takes to do that. And what surprised me about this whole adventure is about how easy it is to learn by location and how effective it is in creating experiences that are both successful and meaningful.
Hmm.
So that's my story, Stephen, and I'm sticking to it.
What's an amazing story. I mean, so many dimensions of what happened with you and Mary Fran that we can explore here. Let's go to Charlene and hear a little bit about your story before we go into some of the understanding you've developed around how to actually make this an experience that is accessible to others. So, but Charlene, I'd love to hear your short story next.
Thanks, Stephen. Yeah, I also had a dramatic experience that really thrust me forward in wanting to become a teacher to empower others to have these kinds of experiences. I was pretty early in my journey meditations. Um, I use that term because meditation often implies you're sitting quiet, you're still, you're blanking your mind. That never really worked for me. But I take journey meditations where I have something I want to accomplish. Usually it's somebody I want to connect with or to explore some of these expanded realms of consciousness. But early in my explorations, I had just finished my second class where I was supporting people who were hesitant to finish their journey after they died. And that was really important to recognize that there are a lot of things that hold us back from being eager to complete our soul's journey as we leave the physical world. And shortly after that class, my dear beloved brother-in-law, Peter, killed himself. Now, that was a big shock. I knew he was depressed, but I was very, very sad and a little angry. I mean, he had abandoned us, but I was surprised that I was not devastated because I knew without a doubt that his soul was doing what he needed to do. Um, in fact, I realized that he was ecstatic to have made it out of the physical, and that he was free of the bounds, the unlivable weight he had put on himself. Now, when my family was on the airplane going to the funeral, my daughter was 7 years old. And she looked up at me and her dad and she said, Uncle Peter said to tell you that he's okay. You don't need to be sad. You can imagine what a relief that was, to know that this young child had that connection, and it reinforced my connection with Peter, that indeed he was just fine. As we shared these stories with the family, it was very supportive of them. They found a great deal of comfort knowing that we, who were fairly sane individuals, had a connection with dear Peter after he had died, and that he was okay, because the religious training really is not very encouraging, that you're okay no matter how you end up leaving the physical world. So this brought up lots and lots of questions, but because of the comfort that I and the family received, I knew how important this kind of exploration was. Now, I had been given a lot of religious training. I was taught that we have a spirit. I trusted that we had an aspect of ourselves that lived past the physical world. But because of these experiences, I knew in my gut that we live on. That's empowering, not just to believe it and be told, but to know because of your own experience. So I became an instructor. Actually, it was 2 years after Peter's death. I finished my certification to be an instructor to help others to have their own experiences, to be empowered so that they would know, none of us are going to go the same route. Now, we all have a different path, but we have similar questions. I've got a little bit of envy of those people who have near-death experiences because I want to know. And I feel like I do, that I have found my own path there. Mm. So that's why I became an instructor, to empower others.
Powerful journey as well. And I wanted to go back to you, Scott, and really ask about, you said that it was like 100% of your consciousness was in one hospital room, 100% in the light. This notion of bilocation, what's your understanding of how it's possible now that we sort of can be in a very real way in two places at once, and how do we get there?
Well, what we have discovered in this exploration of the non-physical universe is that it is outside of time and space. And so this idea that we have to be in one location at one time just doesn't make any sense anymore. If you say that there's no time, that means you can move your consciousness any time in history. And if it's beyond place, it means that you can be in many locations at once. Essentially, what it means is that the non-physical universe has different rules than the physical universe. And it's one of the lovely things about doing this kind of exploration work is that you get to know what is going what the non-physical universe is all about and what it's going to look like and what it's going to feel like and what are the capabilities of us as human beings. um, it's truly unlimited. We are incredibly powerful beings.
Mm. Charlene, you want to add to that?
Well, I really like the way when you were telling your story, Scott, that you said Mary Fran came down and scooped out Nolan. Who we are is not our physical body. I think our physical bodies are important. We need to take care of them, but it's not the essence of who we are. And exploring that is very fun. And you're right, it's a whole different set of physics. You navigate differently, you navigate through thought. You don't have to run over to where you want to be. You don't need a road map that says, you go 3 miles to the right and then you turn left. You think about where you want to be and you focus on that. And that's how you get there, is through your thought.
Mm. So let's talk a little bit more about how you build that capacity, Scott. So how do you sort of build your capacity to sort of split your consciousness in this way to sort of be in two locations at once?
So when we teach that skill, um, what we do is we ask people to create a meeting place in the non-physical universe, something that we spend a little time constructing, and it's where we meet our guides, and it's where we can hang out in the physical world and have a kind of like a home base. And when we're in that space, our guide shows up and we make contact with that guide, holding hands or some other method. And we focus in, really concentrate on the communication with our guide. And then we take and we place all of our focus on our physical body there in the bed or the chair, wherever we are. And then we focus again on the communication with the guide. And then in the physical world, in that bed again. So we're 100% there. And then we go back up and we focus with the guide. And then we say, okay, let's do both. Pay attention to your body and pay attention to the communication with your guide. And very easily, we have the ability to take and split that. Think of it this way, Stephen. Um, very often we can be driving to the grocery store and we're paying attention to the driving the car and the car in front of us and the red light that's coming up and that ding dong on a bicycle that might jump out in front. We're paying attention to all of the our surroundings. And yet at the same time, we're going milk, eggs, bread, pickles. We're creating that list in our head. It feels like that, and it's something that we do naturally. But here we're strengthening those bilocation muscles that allow us to actually make that split easily and effortlessly. And boy, is that a great way to run around the non-physical universe, not having to drag your physical body around with you. It really works well.
Mm. It's great to have that freedom to explore in that way. And Charlene, I wonder what you've learned about really being able to explore these non-physical realms with more confidence.
Well, I've realized you don't have to go out of body to get there. Um, Putting all of that energy into getting your energy body and your physical body to consciously split takes a lot of effort. What I have found, though, is that I can go into these journey meditations. The binaural beats are amazingly supportive of that. And then while still listening on the headphones, I can start to write out what I'm experiencing, maybe just a couple of words that came to my awareness. And by doing that, I started creating my own entrance into navigating these fields and having a bilocation long before we created the term. But by writing during the experience and then later talking on my phone. Here I am talking on my phone, talking, dictating during the experience. I found that I was able to not only have clearer connections, whether with my higher self or guides or ancestors or whoever I was connecting with at the time, but I could bring that information back clearly so that I could then use it. So for me, it's got to be practical. You got to have a use for it.
Mm-hmm. Scott, I'd love for you to reflect a little bit on the understanding of our true nature that's emerged for you as a result of the explorations of non-physical realities and shared death experiences and near-death experiences.
I would love to, because this is a big thing for me. We are energetic beings. This physical suit that we're wearing right now, boy, is that just temporary. Our real physical nature is as energy. And as energy, we then are able to move around the non physical universe all the time easily. And this energy has qualities that we can put into it. We can ask it things. We can put intent into it. We can create boundaries around it for the kinds of experiences that we want to have. And then, as you do this work more and more, what you discover is that this energy exists on many, many dimensions at the same time. And what we are doing in this work is to say, okay, the me that is in this frequency, say the frequency of reunion, where we meet with our dead relatives, that is a specific frequency in the non physical universe. So, what we do is we concentrate on that part of our energetic self that is at that frequency, and we can go there. The tunnel, that's another great thing that near-death experiencers experience, and that exists at a certain frequency. So we learn to shift. We alter our frequency level of our physical and non-physical bodies to match the kind of exercise that we want to do. So we are made of energy, and we are multidimensional beings that exist in all planes of existence at once. We are learning how to just concentrate on the ones that are most interesting at the moment.
Hmm. Charlene, what sort of metaphysical insights into our deeper nature have you had as a result of this work?
Well, one of the big things has been to notice how much our thoughts affect our mood, how it affects our relationships. Um, it was really clear to me when I was parenting a teenager that if I thought about all of her horrible characteristics, how rude she was, how she wasn't doing what she was supposed to be doing, and how moody she had become, I would walk in the door and we would have conflict. I wouldn't even have to say hello. But if I were wise and thought about all of her positive characteristics, how much generosity she had, how compassionate she was with her friends, um, how she really took pride in how she looked, and that she was developing into this intelligent, compassionate, creative young woman, I would walk in the door and we would have a pleasant hello. So I realized that our energetic selves was not just something that I used in these journey meditations, but it was a practical part of every day, and that I could see the impact that how I focused my energy had on the other people around us. And that is becoming more and more visible in my life as I'm helping to raise a 7-year-old fabulous little boy who's got just a touch of autism, and see how he is so much of a sponge and recognizes the mood and the attitude and the energy of the people in the household. So not only is it useful in exploring the outer reaches of consciousness, of the expanded realms, the higher levels, as Scott was talking about. But it has really life enhancing applications for what we are doing day to day in our physical lives as well.
Let
Yeah.
me jump in just one extra thing on that. Charlene alluded to this, but one of the things that we have come to treasure is this idea that of intent,
Mhm.
that thoughts are things, that they help manifest what it is that we want, both in the physical and the non-physical world. So it's that ability to be impeccable about who we are and what we want and how we want to get there that helps us make the journeys that we want to make.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I also want to ask you, what else? So I know you both have, Scott, particularly you, but both have done a lot of work around the shared death experiences and how that's sort of a new genre of experience that near-death experiences have kind of been more commonly understood in the shared death experience. Are there additional elements from from those experiences that are informing how you go about this work that I think it's useful for people to understand?
Yeah. Um, so for the last 50 years, um, near death experiences have been studied. And there's a whole list of the things that happen during near death experiences. But one of the common criticisms of them are that um, they aren't death experiences. They're near death, meaning that you went and you came back. So is it really what you experienced? What Yeah, so it becomes nebulous because there's not really something there. Shared death experiences, on the other hand, you are witnessing somebody else making their final transition. You are with them and get to experience what it is that they are going through as they're going through it, like I did with Mary Fran and Nolan. And so as Nolan transitioned out of his body, there was the reunion, there was that communication with me, there was that sense of him going into the light. These are actual witnesses of the death experience, and they are remarkably similar to near death experience. So, what it has done is said near death experiences really are a description of the transition experience. There just happens to be an escape hatch for the person at the end of it. Shared death experiences are witnessing what happens when we make a transition. So it has added validity and depth to um, the literature and our understanding of what it means when you make a transition.
And one of the things I think is really fun is when those shared death experiences are confirmed because more than one person had the same shared death experience at the same time. And they don't know it until later when they're talking about it. So you can also have confirmations of very similar experiences in the shared death experience.
Hmm. Well, this has been very illuminating and fascinating to talk about these phenomena, and I want to give some space so we can take people on a little bit of an experiential. I know you're going to go much deeper into a lot of experientials in your upcoming course, but give a little taste today of how you can start to connect in with some of the deeper dimensions you're talking about. And you want to lead that off, Scott?
Sure, love to. So, what we're going to do here is get a visceral feel for our energetic body. You heard Charlene and I talk about how important it is that we become aware of our energy body, understanding that we are energy, and um, what we know about our energy body is that it is a wonderful, very sensitive antenna for information that is coming to us. It's coming as energy, it meets our energy, and we're able to interpret it. So we start out our course by um, having a real felt sense of what is energy. So here we go, everybody. You ready? I want you to raise your hands up. And what we're going to do is we're going to activate the minor chakras that are in our palm. So that's easy. We just rub them around like this. Yeah. Okay. And then pull them about a foot apart and start to gently bring them together. And at some point, you might feel, oh, how about that? There's some thickness, there's some pressure. Maybe there's a little tingling. If I press it a little bit further, it might be hot. Here's the fun part. Okay. Now and we're going to do it again. Bring those together. All right. And now collapse it a little more. And when it's really close and kind of warm, ease it apart. And what you should be feeling, or what you can feel, let me use that a better word,
Yeah.
is that this motion feels like taffy. So this is pressure and heat, and then this feels like taffy where something is pulling against your palm. All right, one last time. Activate, bring it together. There it is. And we can do this. We can actually, get kind of the boundaries of that energy ball that we are creating in our hands. That's it. It's active, it's sparkly. Yeah, it's got texture. If you close your eyes, you might even be able to see some of the light. Maybe there's a little sound associated with it. All right. Take that wonderful ball of energy and let's put it into our heart. Give it back to ourselves, knowing that it is who we are and it is something that we can understand through our kinesthetic nature. And it's something that we can use in our explorations of both the physical and the non physical world. So, welcome. You just discovered that we do have an energy body.
Nice. Charlene, anything you want to add and build on that practice?
It was so exciting to me the first time I was able to feel my own energy body and then use that activated hand to perceive somebody else's energy body and the shape being different around the head versus around the shoulders or around the feet, the front of the body, the back of the body. It just blew me away because I had never known that you could really, really tangibly feel the energy body. But you can. You can pet your cat, and you can pet your cat about this far above its back, and the cat will respond.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes dogs do, but cats are very sensitive to your energy. So I encourage you all to go play. See if you can become aware of each other's energy. Is it bigger in the front, bigger in the back? Are the feet kind of cold? They usually are in our society. But also pet your cat a couple of inches above their back. See what happens.
That's great. That's great practice.
Yeah.
Scott, I'd love for you to maybe share a little bit about how these practices evolve. So there's like first really getting clear and connected to your energy body. Then how do you start to build on that practice into other practices that lead into bilocation over time?
And so, specifically talking about our energy body, once we have identified it, we can realize that we can take this energy and move it, manipulate it. So what we do is take energy up the inside of our body, float out our crown chakra, the top of our heads, bring it down on each side of our body, and then into the soles of our feet, creating this flowing energy body that's like this. That's what Charlene was talking about, because you can feel that on somebody else, that ball of energy that's around them. Well, one of the things we can do is that we can change, we can, instead of flowing it straight down, we can, spiral it down. We can add colors to it. We can add sparklies to it. You can feel that ball of energy from the inside. All of this is designed to sensitize ourselves to energy that is coming into us, because we have lots of ways of interpreting information that comes to us. We've got the non-physical duplicate of our physical senses, but there are 5 other senses that we have that use the energy body as part of it. Um, okay, Charlene, we're going to have to remember these. One of them is synchronicity. Another one is synesthesia, the idea that when you sense something, your senses are mixed up, like smelling colors, emotion, intuition. And the last one is creativity and imagination. That ties directly into the creative field, our guidance, the source of information for us. So there's lots of ways that we begin to understand what the non-physical universe is telling us, and it's our job to kind of learn the language so that we can communicate more effectively.
Very exciting. Well, I love how grounded you both are in approaching a lot of these further out there subjects and really opening them to experiential adventures of the soul. So I want to talk now more explicitly about your upcoming course, since it's a really unique opportunity to dive into these practices to make the kinds of stories that we hear from near-death experiences or shared-death experiences, make it a lived reality so that we can navigate these extra dimensional realities in some really unique and beautiful ways. So we're very excited that Scott and Charlene have agreed to teach a course called The Bilocation Phenomenon. Access the wisdom of your guides and divine beings to find solace in reunion with deceased loved ones. You can find it at the URL bilocationphenomenon.com, bilocationphenomenon.com. It's a 7-week program. There are no prerequisites with this. It's just if you feel intuitively called to join. So I'd love for both of you to share a little bit about your intentions for this program, and then we can go through the modules and give a preview of what you'll be teaching.
So my intention for this course is to give you the tools to begin to explore the non-physical universe, to give you the language, the vocabulary to do that. And probably the third thing is to lighten up. Just, this is fun work. And we make it fun. We give you fun things to do. Our exercises have a bit of humor inserted into them. Um, anyway, uh, that's my hope for the course. How about you, Charlene?
My intention is to help you discover for yourself who you are, so much more than we think, but to be able to use that in ways that are meaningful for you so that you have your own understanding of how the non-physical world works, own understanding of your own spirit and your own passions, your own joy. My goal is not just to have wonderful experiences in the meditative journeys. That's one of the goals. But my bigger goal is for your life to be better, for your relationships to be more satisfying, and for you to be more content in your life. Yeah.
Beautiful goals. So let's go through the modules. So module 1 is called Engage with Your Subtle Body to Clear, Recharge, and Renew Your Energy, unlocking the power of your energy body and inner self. Charlene?
Yes, we start with becoming aware of this more than physical that we are, which we call the energy body. And you'll do some imaginal experiences like Scott was talking about. And these become much more than just flights of fancy or imagination. We use some of this all the time. You know, you'll walk into a room and you'll go, ooh, that person's having a bad day. I don't want to get real close. You feel their vibes. Or you'll go, oh, what a warm, loving smile that person has. And you'll feel attracted to them. Intuition is built on that so that you become more aware of being connected. You use these subtle energies to be able to interpret the information you're receiving so that when you are in the expanded states, you're able to use your energetic tools to communicate, to both send and receive information clearly. So you start with being aware of your energetic self, and then we build on that.
I like to think that this part of it where we take a belief in the energy body and we turn it into a known by direct experience, we're going to feel and use this energy body in ways that you may never have imagined to help us um, do all the things that Charlene just said. All those wonderful things. Okay.
Module 2, meet your spirit guide to feel supported, connected, empowered on your journey through life. Scott?
This one is all about knowing that you have guidance and connecting with that guidance in a way where you can communicate easily and thoughtfully, and you begin to then partner with guidance to accomplish the goals that you have set. In this particular exercise, we talked about bilocation, where you bounce back and forth between the non-physical and the physical world. It's in this exercise, module 2, where we do that. So it's right at the beginning, and we learn all about bilocation and how it can be valuable to you, and having our guides assist us in that process.
Module 3, explore the tunnel to expand your awareness, enhance your energy body, and navigate the transition to the non-physical. Charlene?
Well, the tunnel is really just a great metaphor for transitioning, shifting from one way of thinking to another, from one consciousness focus to another. Anytime we can do that, that really helps us to focus in our ordinary life as well as in our meditations. You do this with your guide. What I find is that the guide is always there. We are co-creating our lives. But by having your guide there with you as you go through these experiences, such as exploring the tunnel, then you have a richer understanding of shifting from here to whatever the experience is that you're going for. In that third exercise, we really look at the tunnel, the ability to transition and make it very tangible so that you are aware of the shift and that you are able to appreciate and explore all of the different modes of communication with the crystals and with the sounds and with the colors in the tunnel.
Very cool. Module 4, radiate gratitude as an energetic bridge you can cross to find a sense of belonging and inner peace in the clear light of love. Scott?
Near-death experiencers encounter 3 different kinds of light: black light, white light, and clear light. So this is going to be our first exercise where we enter into one of the lights that is present, meaning one of the vibratory states. We call them vibratory windows, that is present during a near-death experience, and we get a chance to enter into that vibration and feel what it's like to open our heart and really become one with that heart energy. And when we do that, when we have this enhanced sense of love and gratitude, we build a bridge to somebody else we'd like to send that love to. And noticing what it's like to do that and the instant response that happens um, when that bridge hits the other person and it rebounds back at us. It's an extraordinary feeling, and um, it is the foundation of our universe, this idea of a loving consciousness. And we're going to start right there by opening up our capacity to love and our capacity to be grateful.
Module 5, enjoy a reunion with your transitioned loved ones and pets to be reminded you're never alone and address your ego's fears.
This is another one of the lights and is one that is very nourishing and encouraging. What we find is that no matter how advanced we are, there's a little bit of our mind that's going, oh, if I go there, will I come back? I'm afraid to die. And so we're kind of arguing with our ego of, am I going to go or am I not? Near-death experiencers have let us know that it is indeed safe to go into the land of the nearly departed, those who have died. We are able to meet with people that we have loved, anyone we have shared our heart with, including our four-legged babies, and be able to reconnect with them and reassure our physical body, our egos, that it is safe to do this and that we'll come back until it's our turn to leave for the last time. It's very encouraging and comforting to realize that we can still connect with those who have died and that they are still here, that the essence of who they are remains.
Module 6, meet a being of light to experience the joy of sharing your total self with another for deep reassurance and healing.
So, this is an opportunity to do something truly unique. We have our guide, which, helps us navigate, but there are also these beings of light, divine beings, that will invite us to merge with them. And in this process of merging, we open up our total self and we are healed from the inside out. We get to understand what unconditional love means, because they are it. And we get a chance to be one with that. It's an extraordinary experience to know that a divine being knows everything about you. There's nothing that you can hide, and they love it all.
Mm.
It's an extraordinary adventure, and it's an experience of a lifetime.
And finally, Module 7, experience and embody your new sense of expanded beingness. Change yourself to change your life into the one you want.
By going through these experiences, you step by step begin to change. You realize that what you thought might be true has been confirmed. Maybe some things you feared were true have been erased, but you want to live your life differently based on your new understanding of who you are and how you relate to other people in your world, of how you connect with the non-physical world, with your guides, with your ancestors, with your higher self, with your mom and dad who passed along. You're different. Just like people who have near-death experiences come back and they're different. So this is, in this last module, we guide you into recognizing the changes you've made and how to implement those so that your intuition, for example, becomes stronger and something you rely on with more confidence as you co-create your life and you look into the future of who you are and who you want to be.
Well, what a fantastic program. And I know you two are so dedicated to people really taking these practices in and changing their lives. So again, it's all at bilocationphenomenon.com. I'll share a few more things about it. So if you choose to move forward, you're going to get not only those 7 90-minute live sessions with Scott and Charlene, which is going to include interaction time, Q&A time. You're also going to have recordings of every session, both video and audio, as well as word-for-word transcripts, which are great to go back and highlight and study and relearn the practices years from now. There's weekly exercises for home. There's a community to support you and deepen your experience, as well as small group time to connect with other participants. And on the page, you'll also see a number of extra bonuses that have been generously added to enhance the value. There's the binaural beat audio meditation from Scott called Flowing Down and Away, letting go of the past and releasing stuck energy for inner freedom. Scott, you want to share a little bit about that bonus?
This is a lovely one because um, we have, we got stuff and we're thinking about and slow energy. And this is a methodology to just let that go. And it helps release all that slow moving energy so that when we move into an experience, um, we are lighter and more free to engage with it.
Hmm. The second bonus is called Making the Most of Your Bilocation course, 10 Things We Wish We Had Known. This is actually both of you. You want to share a little bit more about that video bonus?
We had such a good time doing this. We took the questions from the first class and kind of distilled them down into 10 basic questions. And we just kind of talked about answers for each of those questions so that you would be able to start out knowing, well, how do I know if this is real? And what if I'm not getting anything on this exercise? What can I do to make my perceptions clearer and to understand them better?
We had, we had such a good time with this video because we stepped back and said, okay, when we each started our journey some 35 years ago,
Yeah.
what are the questions that we wished we could have asked and known the answers to? Because just to enhance our trip and our understanding earlier and quicker. Um, I think this will be really helpful.
That's a great extra bonus. Well, also your enthusiasm is very contagious. And then there's one final bonus folks get is you get as a bonus if you sign up right away by midnight tonight Pacific time. This is an interview with Scott and Suzanne Giesman, who's a beloved mediumship teacher for Shift. It's called How Boris Can Help, the Value of a Non-Physical Spirit Guide. Scott, you want to share more about that interview you did with Suzanne?
Yeah, this is something that Suzanne shared with me, us, about this guide that can help organize the non-physical universe for you. That's the role of Boris. And in her world, do you guys remember Rocky and Bullwinkle?
Yes.
Okay, so Boris bad enough.
And Natasha, Boris and
That's
Natasha.
it. Boris bad enough. It was anyway. And when her guide came through and introduced himself to Suzanne, he said, I am Boris, and complete with the Russian accent. The whole thing is says, I will make things right for you. I will organize for you. So she relies on Boris. Say, okay, I want to talk to these people. Can you line them up for me so I don't have to run around and search for them? And it just happens. And, she goes into her space and says, Boris, okay, let's go. And he's in charge of making sure that everything flows smoothly and she doesn't have to worry about it. So it's an effective tool for the work that we do, tool. And I think you'll chuckle at our interview and learn something about how you can make your practice more efficient and effective.
Hmm. That's a fun extra bonus and very practical as well. So again, that's the special bonus you folks get if you sign up by midnight tonight. How Boris can help the value of a non-physical spirit guide. So it's clearly going to be a really groundbreaking and fascinating program with a lot of practical benefits. We've kept the investment very accessible. It's just 3 payments of $128. You save 10% when you pay in full with one payment of $349. The course is going to start September 3rd and run Wednesdays at 10:30 Pacific, 1:30 Eastern. But even if you can't make the live times, you can still get the full value with the recordings, the transcripts, and the community as well. So there's some great testimonials from people who have learned from both Scott and Charlene about how much positive energy, competence, life-changing experiences, lots of great testimonials. And so you're in really good hands and you're building on decades of research and you'll get some powerful tools to liberate yourself into new dimensions. So again, that the whole program is laid out in detail at bilocationphenomenon.com, and you'll get the Boris bonus, which is called How Boris Can Help, the value of a non-physical spirit guide when you sign up by midnight tonight. So you two, always a delight to be with you. Anything that's still on your heart you want to share with folks who are considering doing the course with you? Scott, why don't we start with you?
Well, there's one thing we didn't touch on that Charlene and I do that I think is really helpful. During the modules and after, any questions that people have that they send to us, either in the chat box or on Facebook or email, or we do a separate video to answer those questions right after the class is over. So that if something is bugging you or you had this breakthrough, like, what does this mean? How do I interpret? We got you covered because we answer those. And as you've noticed, um, I come at things from one lens, Charlene comes at it from another lens. So you get both of us, with two different perspectives on what it is that you would really like to know and understand about what we're doing.
Charlene?
Well, one thing we really haven't talked about, Stephen, is that each one of the modules has a different binaural beat guided meditation. That exercise, half hour, 40 minutes, somewhere in that range, that's available for you to use as often as you wish. And like anything else, the more you practice, the better you get. I think that is an incredible benefit that, yes, you're going to get our guidance, you're going to get our instructions. We love to answer your questions, but the magic is you having your own experience. And these guided binaural beat meditations really support you in your own journey.
Well, you two are delightful pioneers in this realm, and so many great things can flow from this. So thank you for your time today, your wisdom, and this new program and bilocation phenomenon. And so it's called the bilocation phenomenon. Access the wisdom of your guides and divine beings to find solace in reunion with deceased loved ones. And you can find all the details at bilocationphenomenon.com, and you'll get the Boris benefit, how Boris can help the value of a non-physical spirit guide if you sign up by midnight tonight. So thank you both, and thank you all for joining. Many blessings.
Thank you, Stephen, for giving us this opportunity.
And Stephen,
Yeah.
this is a wonderful thing that Shift does, and we are so grateful to be part of it. And for those of you watching, I really hope that you join us because we're just going to it's more fun than one person should have.
It'll change your life.
All right. All right. Thank you both. Many blessings.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.